And now you may not some people may not agree with the correct answers. I hope Preeti agrees with all the correct answers. But let me now stop sharing, and in case there is still any doubt left, now let's go to the FAQs. Maybe some of the questions get answered over there. So Preeti, now we're starting the rapid fire. Bhavani asks, is POSH still applicable even if the company doesn't have female employees?
Absolutely. The Act is applicable on organizations. And even if there is no female employee, the Act gets applicable. There may be female interviewees who come for interview in the organization. There may be female bystanders. There may be visitors. So the Act is applicable.
Right. Thank you. Also, so sorry, before I migrate to the next question, from a time check perspective, we'll try to wrap up in the next 20 minutes. So bear with us in case you find it interesting. Maybe we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Also, Krupa, you had asked, I saw that remark earlier on that can you please explain in Hindi, and you're having some business partners who are attending the session. However, this session was organized as an English session only. Hindi, is a completely different setting. So in case you would want a separate session to be organized in Hindi for your business partners or the other workforce, please get in touch with Preeti and she'll be happy to do a separate session on that. Okay, and Rupali asks, is POSH applicable on male employees as well? Since the Act mentions the term employees, does this term consist of male and female employees or only females?
So the name of the law is Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace. The law typically is applicable to prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace. There are organizations which are having gender neutral policies. However, and this is a very important question because we were discussing this during the task force meeting at the ICSI. While the organizations may have a gender neutral policy, which prescribes that similar process to be followed in case the males are being sexually harassed in the organization, which is also possible. And in case in case they choose to file an appeal with the appellate authority or they approach the LC, there are circumstances under the law where they need to approach the local committee for redressal. The local committee can only handle complaints filed within the law. So practically speaking and legally speaking, this law is giving coverage to females. The male get coverage by the code of conduct, the HR policies of the organization.
Right. Okay, Aman Purohit. Aman Purohit is our ex-eMinds legal champ also. Hi, Aman. So Aman asks, our company has 20 sites across all over India, having more than 10 employees, but all are male employees. Is POSH Act compliance is applicable for all sites of a company, or is it only applicable to the registered office? Is it applicable for each and every site, or does having no female employee come under any exemption?
We discussed about applicability of the law in case the company or the branch office does not have a female, even a single female employee. The law is still applicable. The applicability of the law also is determined by the jurisdiction of the district labor office. So again, since the annual return needs to be filed with the labor office in a particular district, the branches falling and within a district. Need to comply accordingly. So 10 employees or more, they have to comply with the provisions of this law, having IC. Otherwise, even if you're less than, so understand this, the law is applicable even if there are lesser than 10 employees. The constitution of IC happens when the company is 10 or more employees. So law is applicable on all organizations. I hope I answered your question, Aman.
Yeah. All right. Otherwise, Aman has your number and Aman can contact you offline. All right. Yeah. Manvi Gulati is also ex-eMinds legal. Hi, Manvi. Manvi asks, can a complaint be raised against a woman by a woman?
It's a modern world, Manvi. So while the aggrieved woman has to be a female, the respondent can be a male, female, third gender, LGBTQI, any gender. So a woman can raise a complaint of sexual harassment against a woman also.
Right. Okay, Bismay asks, do women who work in an unorganized sector, like there are 118 million women constituting 97% of the total women workers, so do they or are they being given awareness about POSH, or like any thoughts on that?
It's required to give them awareness. For example, this law is based on the instance of rape of Bhamri Devi. The Vishaka guidelines came and then that formed the basis of this law. Again, she was in an unorganized sector. The intention of the law is to give coverage to every female working within, every working female in India, um, giving them workshop or training or awareness. It's not easy, but the intention of the law is to do that. The implementation becomes very difficult. So I'm not sure about how these 97% of the workforce of India, the female working force of India, are being trained. However, if they're working under a contractor, the contractors are required to hold such kind of awareness sessions for them.
Right. Anonymous attendee, as the act is all about women, which law is applicable if men are sexually exploited? I think you already answered. Code of conduct would be applicable. Goransh also asked, any indecent comment by a woman to a woman? Yes, it will come under POSH. Rupali says, if there are two branches of a company in the same premises, then there shall be one IC or two different. This was asked earlier also. So what you answered, Preeti, is that two different ICs are required for every
we
branch,
did not
right?
see that. We did not see that. Two branches of a company in the same premises. If there are two legal entities, for example, they are supposed to have different ICs. However, if the branches are of within the same premises, one organization running two offices, for example, in our building, if we are on two different floors, for example, similar scenario. So here, one IC would suffice.
Right. But if the branches are in different states, then probably
different states, yes.
I think the essence of the law is that the justice must be administered within the company, and therefore, if it's a different location, then the IC must be available in that location, in a way, right? Okay. Men has already been answered. Gorash asks, any sexual assault in office party where cab is provided by the company, does it come under POSH?
So if it is an office party, it gets covered. If it is not an official party where people contribute and then go for enjoyment, again, it's as per law, it doesn't get covered. However, it's the responsibility of the IC or the management to keep the organization clean of such incidents. So they may take it up. The law does not mandate them to take it up.
Now, there's a question called, is it possible to raise a complaint against my ex-manager who works in a previous company who passed dirty comments and tried to misbehave with employees? So I guess if the complaint, if the dirty comments were passed against you by your ex-manager, maybe in a alumni kind of a event or where you met him or her, yes, you can raise a complaint with the ICC of your previous company, right, Preeti?
But again, it's time barred. So if 90 days, you need to see, the 3 months period within which the complaint needs to be filed.
Yeah, if the intention of the question is that yes, some comments were passed last year, while you were there in the company and then you left, then it can't be because it's a 90 days limit. Prakash is also ex-eMinds legal. Hi, Kul Prakash, and good to see a lot of alumni joining in. Kul Prakash asks, will abusing to a client by a male employee where female employees are around be considered as hostile work environment?
It depends on the perception of the women. If the females are around, and I was taking this workshop just last week where this was categorically discussed, because depends upon the business that the company is in. It determines the language that the people use, frankly, Kul Prakash. And then they, in their HR policy also, in their code of conduct, they've mentioned that you are not allowed to use abusive language while you are working within the organization. The management has told the employees that in case you need to take any call where you feel that you can be aggressive, go to a conference room or go outside the office and discuss this. The females may feel uncomfortable, and if the females are starting to feel uncomfortable, they can raise a complaint under this.
Right. Now, Sandhya asks, is there a timeline to raise a harassment complaint? Will delay in reporting have any impact?
90 days time we've discussed, depending upon the nature of the complaint and the severity of the complaint and the reasons, genuineness of the reasons, the IC may accept it by taking note of it in writing.
Okay, one very sensitive question, anonymously, of course, because it's so sensitive. Whether it is a right for an HR, male or female, to ask a female employee about her personal life questions, for example, when are they planning to get married or planning a pregnancy during an interview, and based on such questions, her employment is dependent. This means there is a discrimination with the female candidate during employment.
I totally agree with you, anonymous attendee, on this because as females and as employer, we have to think from both the perspectives. The employer, of course, will do sense check while hiring a female employee as to whether if she gets married in the next 6 months or if she is newly married and she plans a family in the next 6 months. There is a breakage in the continuity, of course, and she might not be able to serve the organization, soon after joining. So again, while these are genuine HR questions, they may be asked very sensitively. You can ask. Nobody stops you from asking, but nobody stops the female from feeling sensitive or feeling offended by these kind of questions. On the females, they should express whether they like it or not. And on the HR, male or female, again, ask those questions very sensitively. These are extremely, extremely sensitive. There is nothing right, nothing wrong in asking such kind of questions. Depends on how the female takes it and depends on how these questions get asked.
Yeah. However, Preeti, if I stick to the topic, I don't think there is any posh angle to this query. So
there is no posh angle. There is no sexual connotation. There is no sexual connotation attached to it. But again, nothing stops a female from filing. Once that completes file is once the IC will determine whether it falls under its purview or not. However, the entire process gets triggered and therefore it becomes important.
Okay. Kulprakash says, can a woman client visiting our office be considered as employee for posh purpose?
See, woman client visiting your office, of course, if she's a visitor, if she gets misbehaved by any of your colleagues, she gets a right to file a complaint with your IC. In case she's unable to find your IC, she can go back to her organization, approach her own IC, and the IC will talk to your IC. Of course, she gets a right.
Yeah, because she need not be an employee to file a complaint with your IC. And in case she doesn't get any response from your IC, because if your IC considers her as an outsider, she can also file a police complaint as well. Yeah. Okay, so is there male employees has been answered. Pushpa says workplace has to have more than 10 female employees or total 10 employees to have an ICC.
10 or more employees to have
employees. So even if theoretically there is no female employee, still an IC is required, right?
Yes.
Does gossiping about a female employee is considered as harassment?
She might feel harassed. It may not be sexual harassment, but she might raise a complaint with the HR about this.
As a workplace harassment, yeah. Now, Varun Sharma, hi Varun Sharma. Varun is our existing eMinds champ. So Varun, for the purpose of POSH Act, Varun asks, in case of a company, can a director be considered the employer or will it be the board of the company?
So if the board has given the authority to the director, normally managing director is entrusted with all these responsibilities. If the director has the responsibility to manage and supervise and make policies and do everything that is as defined under the law, he becomes an employer. Otherwise, it will be the board of directors of the company will be deemed to be the employer.
Right. A company has 10 employees. This is fine. But in case of 100 branches and each branch has more than 20 employees, does this require to constitute 100 ICCs within the organization?
So like I mentioned, Kulprakash, in case there are multiple branches falling within one, jurisdiction of one labor office, then one IC for these will suffice. If not, organizations having multiple offices across India, they generally divide their ICs zone-wise. However, each zone should be falling under one district office, labor office. So based on that, you can constitute your ICs.
Right. Okay, so can the external member be the in-house CS or legal head?
No, external means external.
Okay, and can
external
the external
means somebody does not have having any relation with the organization, no interest with the organization.
Right, and can the external member be a male also from an NGO?
Nothing stops you from hiring a male external member.
Yeah, males are not debarred as such. Yes, generally females, but yes, males are of course. In this session also, while a female has taken the whole presentation, but a male is moderating the post session. So it's a diversity. There's a diversity over there also. Okay, Tushar is an existing COMPLINITY champ. Hi Tushar. Tushar says, does sexual harassment of men get covered? Yes, this has been answered. I mean that men do not get covered under POSH Act, but it will be covered under the Code of Conduct. What if there is no proof to prove the unfair behavior one experienced? So it's a proof.
If it can't be proved, if it can't be proven, it cannot be proven. So, like I mentioned, if the female is unable to prove that such incident happened, doesn't make it a false accusation.
Right. Okay. Now, Bruma Pathakji say, can HR be the part of the ICT?
It makes sense to have HR as part of IC. Always.
In case of Rohit says, in case of offensive acts of behavior, what type of punishment should be given to employees? All acts may not be fit into the definition of sexual harassment under POSH.
So if it is a sexual harassment, POSH law has defined the punishments. We've seen this during the presentation. If it is not an act of sexual harassment, if it's a workplace harassment, it doesn't get covered under this law. It gets covered by the code of conduct or the HR policies. So depending on what remedies are provided in your policies, the action will be taken.
Understand. Okay. In case of a grave act, can conciliation be done with mutual consent without any punishment?
In case of grave act, can conciliation be done with mutual consent? Again, depends on both the parties. In case they arrive at a mutual consent. Okay, in case of, so if it is a complaint of rape, molestation, etc., which is a criminal complaint also, there the police complaint needs to be filed because it's a criminal offense. Again, if the female does not report it to the police, it becomes a responsibility to the organization if it happens during the at the workplace, as we've seen the definition. So it becomes the responsibility of the organization, the IC, to file this police complaint. Then it depends on the female. If she wants to withdraw, totally on her.
Right. Rohit says, if harassment happens to a company employee by an outsider, can we ask female employee to file complaint with the jurisdictional police station?
Now, again, it depends on the scenario. If it's an outsider about whom there is no information, again, then the IC of your organization cannot take any action. So the police is somebody who can take an action. However, if it's the outsider is a visitor, it's a consultant, it's a client regarding whom you have an awareness that he belongs to another organization where there is an IC, the complaint can get filed there. It's all situational.
So the complaint can get filed in the IC of the outsider where he works, is it?
Yes.
So suppose the outsider comes to the office premises where the female employee is working, and he does some offensive act. So the female employee can file a complaint at the IC of the office of the outsider. Is that what we are
saying? See, if we talk in simpler terms, assuming a client comes to ABC Private Limited, just to simplify this, and he misbehaves with an ABC's employee here.
Right.
Now, if the female employee files a complaint with ABC, the ABC IC does not have an authority on that client. So technically, the complaint gets filed with the IC of the client. However, if the female, hesitates, does not have the guts, or does not know the awareness, doesn't have the awareness, she can file a complaint with ABC's IC, and the IC can take it up with the IC of the client.
Yeah, and if none of that works, yes, you can file a complaint with the police station. Nothing stops you. Or you can also file, as Preeti explained, in SheBox. So there are several measures. SheBox is an online forum by the
Complaint redressal mechanism.
Again,
yeah.
Right. Okay. Rupa says, when we say intent does not matter and perception of the female is important, is there a possibility of allegation not proved? If there is no evidence, what is the solution?
Of course. So perception, so intent and perception, you cannot determine somebody's intent. However, if a female perceives that his intent is wrong, she gets a right under this law to file a complaint. Intent can only get established once the conciliation or once the investigation inquiry happens. Of course, intent also matters. But if in case the allegation doesn't get proven, in case there is no evidence, then the IC cannot recommend any punishment against the respondent. And then no action can be taken against the respondent. That's the only thing.
Yeah. But if a complaint, Preeti, is not proved, does it mean, is it a malicious complaint or a fake complaint?
No, that I mentioned already. In case the female is unable to prove her complaint, doesn't make it a false or a wrong or a complaint filed with a malicious intent. Okay.
Somebody asked, what about the male? Will he be getting a paid leave for 3 months?
This act is not applicable on males, and we've discussed that.
Yeah. No, suppose a male is the accused, and inquiry is going on. And suppose, in companies we have seen, people are put on suspension so that he doesn't interfere with the inquiry. So in that case, that suspension, will that be like a paid leave for few weeks?
Depends. See, law does not specify about paid leaves to the respondent. Respondent's paid leave or leaves would be dependent on the company's policies. If the company policy says that during the suspension, the respondent will be given half a month's paid leave, or matlab, the salary will be deducted by half, he will be paid accordingly. So how in certain government departments, if I'm not wrong, even during suspension, they get paid some amount of leave as sustenance money. So it depends upon the policy of the company.
Yeah, but even if the policy of your company says that during inquiry you may be put on leave, paid leave, etc., do not take these as a good opportunity to get paid leaves. So this is not a this is a very serious issue and should not be sort of taken in any other way. Okay, can the ex-employee can the ex-employee be an external member of IC?
Very tricky question, frankly. Can an ex-employee be an external member? The laws does not prohibit, frankly. There's nowhere it is written. The only condition is that the external employee should not be in any way related to the organization. Now, frankly, an ex-employee would know all the employees. Yeah, so the ex-employee would know everybody in the organization. So that way, is depending. So this is
I
this is
think
a
the test
tricky
of
question.
independence,
It may be.
has to be there.
Yes, it may be objected to in case a complaint gets filed. Somebody may object to it.
Yeah.
Depends on the situation, frankly.
But I would say if the ex-employee has started his own practice and he's doing a good job and he's practicing this area and he's on the ICCs of several other MNC companies and he's got a unfettered sort of record or a credential, then maybe yes.
Like I mentioned, it's situational. It's situational.
Yeah. Okay. So Charu says, what is the purpose of filing annual returns to district officer? How can we locate a DO?
So the area where your organization is situated, in the district where your office is situated, you have to approach the labor office of that district, and that's the labor office which has jurisdiction over your organization.
Yeah. Deepika says, how to file a POSH return to the government as a compliance?
Deepika, it depends upon the labor office. During COVID, it was mandated for in our area in North India. I mean, in Gurgaon, in Delhi, we were required to file an e-return through email, send an email return. So every year they inform the companies, they inform the organization, and if your organization hasn't received any intimation, any confirmation, you may approach the district office or the labor office and ask them as to how the complaint needs to be filed. Prior to COVID, it used to be physical documents with due physical acknowledgement received. Around during COVID time, it was through a Google form. I think last year also it was a physical submission. So this year we are yet to receive any intimation on how this gets filed. And I think if you ask us maybe next week or so, we'll be able to inform you.
All right. Okay, question by Vivek Sundrial, a very good question. And Vivek is an existing eMinds champ in the accounting vertical. He's a chartered accountant. So, hi Vivek. Vivek says, student age 15, drawing uncomfortable picture of lady teacher in the school premises. Is it covered under POSH? What options are available to the lady teacher? So it's a very tricky school scenario.
Schools get covered under POSH and under POXO, both. Here in this case, the lady teacher is an employee of the school, and the student is you can treat the student. You cannot treat the student as an employee, yet he is the regular attendee of the school. So it can be covered under POSH. Schools generally take these complaints, as what to say, they take it directly with the principal or with the authorities who are responsible to handle misbehavior of students with anybody. But yes, it can be covered under POSH, in my opinion.
Right. And I think a follow-up question by Vivek is, men teacher approach student girl age 12 in a wrong way. Is it covered under POSH? What options are available?
POXO. This gets covered under POXO.
Yeah. POXO is basically for everyone's benefit, prevention of child sexual abuse, child sexual offenses, something like that. So if the victim is a child under 18 years of age, that is POXO. If the victim is the lady, means an adult at a workplace, that's POSH. So a very classic sort of case. The offense by a student towards a lady teacher, or towards a girl by a men teacher. I think that's a very good question, Vivek. Okay, now somebody says how to build a culture of for employees to speak up and raise a concern. I think very nice, pertinent question from a cultural standpoint. We usually see women employees not coming ahead and filing a complaint for a lot of reasons, but how to make the cultural shift? Very nice question.
See, the cultural shift, frankly, comes from the top. If your management is ready to kind of create an open work environment where everybody is free to uh, express the discomfort if he or she is facing, or express herself or himself in case he or she is feeling happy, both ways. It's the culture of the organization which determines the environment, which determines the safety of the people working there. And again, all this comes from the top. If a female is not gaining that confidence, despite these trainings, despite these workshops, even the ICs are required to kind of, keep this law always alive within the organization. I'm not saying in encouraging everybody to file a complaint under this law, but sharing incidents, sharing snippets, putting posters within the workplace, so that there is an awareness all the time. It's not a once a year affair of creating this awareness. So, and also if somebody knows that a female is feeling miserable because of some incident or something, that person, that colleague is also kind of responsible to give a comfort. Or the IC member, he should approach the IC members and informally tell them. The IC should call them. Like I said, it's the culture of the organization which determines the safety and security. So if the management has decided to build a beautiful culture in the organization, everybody will be comfortable in speaking out. However, if the people feel that if we bring such kind of issues, we'll be snubbed, we'll be asked to shut up, they will not come out with such kind of things. In such cases, the females might later on choose to switch jobs and leave, and then talk about the culture, bad culture in the organization. So it's always better to give people courage to talk about such kind of things.
Right. So now, Preeti, in the interest of time, I think we've already overshot the time. However, the questions are too many still, and they're quite interesting and good questions. So what we'll still do is, this is 12:51. I think we'll take 9 more minutes by the watch, and we'll sharp finish by 1 p.m. I'm sensitive of everyone's time. But yes, thank you everyone for attending. But we are continuing with the questions. Preeti, I'll do a rapid fire. We'll shift gears. If you can give one-line answers so that we can cover as many questions as we can. We'll have to skip few, but bear with us for that. But yes, we'll ask as many as we can, and I'll skip the repeats also. So okay. But Swati, by the way, has written Preeti to you that she has sent her contacts, that if you can, have
I'll do that. I'll do that. I've taken note of it.
They're looking for some POSH guidance and workshops, etc. Okay. Can an outside legal team be brought during the interrogation?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Even nil return has to be filed before the due date?
What do you mean by nil? In case there are no incidents, yes,
Yes.
the annual return has to be filed, because it's not only about the complaints, it's the entire paraphernalia around this act that needs to be reported. When was the workshop held? Did the ICO capacity building workshop held, etc., etc. So a lot of things. This return needs to be filed, even if there are no complaints.
Can we get a copy of the PPT? The answer is no. However, follow our social media, follow our blogs, follow our videos, and you'll have a lot of resources and material. There are some downloads also available, etc. Or else contact Preeti. Okay. Can an HR manager be presiding officer in an IC? Answer is yes. Preeti, if I know the one word answer, I'll say it. If I'm wrong, please correct me there and then.
So if the HR, so any female at a senior position, it may be HR.
Right. So we are a startup company. How do we get do POSH? As initial says, POSH is applicable on startups and SMEs and large companies in the same way if you're more than 10 people. So if you're more than 10, Babita, don't know how to do it, contact Preeti is the simplest, I would say. Philip says, what is the role of HR department in relation to IC meetings, its findings, decisions, implementation, etc.?
So if HR is a part of IC, then it gets involved. Otherwise, whatever IC does, it is IC's responsibility to recommend the decision to the employer. Employer will implement it through HR or howsoever it does it, and then the losses the employer will report it back to the IC. So if employer chooses to delegate this power, it's on the employer. However, IC recommendations have to be shared through its report to the employer.
Yeah, and the last part of the question was vis-a-vis general disciplinary rules or standing orders. So yes, those will apply, but with respect to POSH policy and the ICSI will sort of supersede the standing orders, etc. Okay, I'm skipping the repeat questions. Subhash has mentioned his email ID. Subhash, you can go to our website and sort of put that ID there to get the legal updates. What is the legal standing of the inquiry report of the ICC? Is it admissible as evidence in a court of law?
Yes. In case the decision of the recommendation of the IC and the implementation by the employer gets appealed against by any of the parties, they choose to go to the court to file an appeal or to the appellate authority, the inquiry report will be taken as evidence. Therefore, it is always recommended to keep it as detailed as possible and to keep it as to the point as possible. Two different terms, opposite.
So Amar says, how sharing of non-veg messages is not a sexual harassment. Maybe that is springing out of the quiz. So Amar, there I'd like to clarify. We are not saying yes, we are not saying no. We are saying if suppose the non-veg messages are shared and the female is feeling uncomfortable, yes, it's a sexual harassment. However, if the female herself has been sharing non-veg messages, with that male colleague earlier, and when the male shares another non-veg message, now she calls it a harassment. So there it is contextual. That's why I think the correct answer was written as maybe, depends on the facts and circumstances of each case. Hope that clarifies. Okay. Who is the appellate authority under the law for the decision of the ICC?
So the appellate authority is defined by the law. In certain states, it is yet in the process of implementation. But if you let me know which state you're talking about, I can let you know. You can email me. You have my connect.
Yeah, and Vipul says, how will ICC be constituted where there are no female employees?
Absolutely an interesting question, relevant question. There still are organizations who do not have even a single female employee. And like I said, we were discussing it at the task force. The option is to one, hire an external female employee. Not less than 50% should be females on the IC. So in case you choose to have 4 members, at least 3:1 will be the ratio. In case you have group companies where there are senior female employees, you can hire one of them to be the presiding officer. In case you have a director who's a female, you can appoint her as a presiding officer to meet the requirement. In case you are unable to find anybody, either in the group company or you do not have a group company, you just have one organization and there is no female employee, it becomes very tricky. Law does not provide it. So you can probably, and it's nothing legal about it, like I said, no, law does not provide it. You can either choose to hire a female employee if the organization doesn't want to do it, hire somebody as a consultant and designate her as a presiding officer.
Right.
But like I said, law is silent.
Yeah, very interesting question. But next question by Pankaj Kumar. I just laughed while reading the question. Is it applicable to a shop in weekly market like Chole Bhature shop on Friday market and its workers are more than 10? Maybe a tikki wala or a Chole Bhature, etc. Yeah.
It's an unorganized sector, Pankaj. The law is applicable on all workforce, I mean, organized as well as unorganized. They get coverage by the local labor office. The local committee gets applicable for all complaints. They're supposed to, the unorganized sector, generally the complaints get filed with the labor office, the local committee, local complaints committee.
Local complaints committee. Okay, Deepthi says, is there any separate POSH Act for female workers in a factory?
One act covers everybody, right? Why do you need a separate POSH Act?
While there is no separate act, Deepthi, however, there can be a separate session, maybe in Hindi, as somebody had asked earlier, because yes, female workers in a factory, maybe blue-collar workers, etc., may not be able to understand these English webinars. So a different kind of a webinar or a specific training session could be organized for those workers in a language which they understand, giving examples which they will be able to relate to. But the act remains same. And yes, if you want to organize one such, so contact Preeti. Abhijit Bharti, very good question. If incident happens after office hours or on a holiday, does it come under this act?
The law has defined the workplace and workplace during the course of employment. So there is no course of employment on a holiday or after office hours. But like I said, while the law does not mandate IC to take care of complaints which happen outside office hours or on a holiday, these two people again, within whom the dispute has arisen or the sexual harassment incident apparently has arisen, they are a company's employees. So the IC may take it. IC is not bound to take it. Still, it can choose to take it because it is the responsibility of the IC to keep the environment free from such kind of incidents.
All right. So it's 1 p.m. There are few still unanswered questions, and thanks audience for sort of being so engaged and giving or pouring in all your queries. The unanswered questions we will try to sort of address in some other way, maybe by a subsequent video, or we'll find out. Maybe we'll do some a white paper on that or something. Just follow all the channels, and we'll sort of find out a way to reach out to you. Preeti, one last question from me, and then we'll end the webinar. In all the practical cases that you've handled in the companies where you are on the IC, what has been your experience on the actions taken? Is it a lip service, or do you really see companies seriously taking actions against the employees who have been found guilty?
While I would love to refrain answering on this question, however, see, it depends, like I said, it comes from the top. So while I was taking a workshop in an organization, there the managing director during the workshop in front of all the employees said that I will not wait for the IC to come out with its recommendations on what action to be taken. If I come to know that, even if I come to know informally about such an action incident happening, I would terminate. I would not wait for that person to prove his innocence or not. I will terminate. I will not tolerate such kind of incidents happening in the organization. There are certain organizations for whom I have conducted the investigations and inquiries. Again, the balance of convenience lies in the favor of a senior employee, of course, who's like almost a revenue generating, who's in the system for long years, who's at a senior position, is given preference. Again, like I said, it depends upon from organizations to organizations. The intention of the law is to prevent or redress sexual harassment of females. However, the implementation has to come from the organization. The IC is supposed to be independent. However, since the IC members are employees of the organization, they are bound or to be influenced by the employer's recommendations or everything. So again, it's situational. It's not easy to comment on whether it is right or wrong or yes or no.
Understand. Okay, I mentioned Preeti's contact email ID and mobile number on this chat box. If anyone has any further queries or anyone needs any assistance or advisory or opinion or workshops or investigations or a panel on the ICC, you can directly contact Preeti. And one last comment. Yeah, Preeti, you want to say something?
One last question that I would like to answer, because there's this very interesting question from Raji Refel. Yeah. How does IC proceed with the case within 90 days in the below scenarios? First is the complainant or respondent is on emergency leave or long leave and is not available for the proceedings. So Raji, in today's scenario, in today's world, everything is possible virtually. It should be ensured that people are available at least for virtual meetings. Second is the complainant has exited the organization, is not reachable. Then the IC cannot help but pass an ex parte order by giving, the law says that give 3 notices, and if any of the parties is not appearing, give a final notice, and then you can pass an ex parte order. The complainant does not want his or her name to be disclosed to the respondent. That's not possible. It cannot be an anonymous complaint. So therefore, the name has to be disclosed.
Understand.
Welcome to COMPLINITY Technologies. COMPLINITY is India's leading governance, risk and compliance software helping companies to manage their compliance, contracts, litigation, legal updates, inter-financial controls and more. COMPLINITY is a one-stop shop for all GRC needs. With our proprietary 12 GRC modules and real-time legal updates on 2,000+ laws and 24,000+ compliances, all in an integrated platform that is easy to use with automated alerts and risk management capabilities, is why compliance managers, general counsels and chief financial officers choose COMPLINITY every time. Join the most innovative and prestigious brands that use COMPLINITY. Automating your compliance management. Request a demo at complinity.com.